Evening. Welcome to week 12 of Biology 1021. My name is Ian Coates and I'll be your facilitator for this week here as we cover tissues. All right, and here we're not talking Kleenex, we are talking about skin cells and bone cells and nerve cells and all these kinds of good stuff. So, no further ado. We'll just get moving on. Thank you. Introduction to tissue. Okay. Similar cells are arranged in tissues that provide specific functions for the body. Cells of different tissues are structured differently, which leads to their differences in function. The tissues of the human body include four major types. Epithelial tissue, form protective coverings and functions in secretion and absorption. Connective tissues, supports soft parts and binds structures together. Muscular tissue, produces body movement. Nervous tissue, conduct impulses to control and coordinate body activities. So we've got epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle, and nervous. These are the four kinds of tissue that we'll be talking about there in today's class. Epithelial, protection, excretion, absorption. Okay. Examples there: covers body surfaces and lines the internal organs. We have connective tissue, binds, support, protects, fills spaces, stores fat, produces red blood cells. Okay. Muscle is involved in movement and heat. And nervous, conducting impulses for coordination, regulation, integration, and sensory reception. Okay. So, tissues are three-dimensional structures. Okay, we'll have a look at the, I'll always try and have an electron micrograph besides a cartoon. Cat just jumped onto the table. Get out of here. So you'll see here that there's your electron micrograph detailing what is happening here. And you'll see that this is kind of a sideway view. And you'll see the tissues around here. And within there you'll see the lumen. Lumen is the hole in between, right? You'll see here, if you have a look at this one right here, we've cut this this structure here long ways, and you'll see there the cuboidal cells lining the side of it there. Okay? So, very good. Epithelial cells, general characteristics. Epithelial tissue is widespread throughout the body, covers organs, lines body cavities and hollow organs, makes up glands. Okay, epithelial tissue always has a free surface, okay, exposed to the outside or an internal space there called a lumen. Epithelial tissue are anchored to a basement membrane. They are made up of tightly packed cells containing little intracellular material. Generally, they don't have blood vessels and are readily able to divide. They're nourished by cells in underlying connective tissue. There are different names for them, which I'll show you there in the next slide. There is squamous, which is flat, cuboidal, which is cube-shaped, columnar, which is column-shaped. You can have simple or you can have stratified. Okay, simple being one layer, stratified being multiple layers on top of each other. Again, there's a free surface. It can be modified to reflect the specific functions. There could be cilia or microvilli on these cells. Epithelial tissue function in protection, secretion, absorption, and excretion. So you'll see here, there we have squamous, which are flat. We have cuboidal, which are cubed. We have columnar, which are column-shaped. And then you'll see here that we have simple squamous, one layer, stratified squamous, multiple, simple cuboidal, stratified cuboidal, simple columnar, stratified columnar, and this one here is what we call pseudostratified columnar epithelium, where they kind of look like they're hanging off of each other, but they're really not. They all touch that basement membrane protein there where all the food comes from. So you look here, all of the food comes underneath and passes through the cells and feeds all the cells there. Okay. Simple squamous epithelium. These guys here are made up of a single layer of thin, flattened cells. Cells are tightly packed together. They have broad, thin nuclei. Due to flattened structure of the cells, this type is found in diffusion and filtration sites. Because it is suited for diffusion, it functions in the exchange of gases in the alveoli of the lungs. Simple squamous epithelium, alveoli of the lungs, gas exchange. So here's your simple squamous epithelium, beautiful stuff. Okay, simple cuboidal epithelium consists of a single layer of cube-shaped cells with centrally located nuclei. Lines most kidney tubules, covers the ovaries, and lines the ducts of some glands. It functions urine formation in the kidneys when it lines tubules or ducts. Free surface faces the lumen, the hollow channel, right in there. Okay, kidney tubules, simple cuboidal epithelium. And there's some shots of it. Nicely done. Okay, there's your lumen, and there's your simple cuboidal epithelium. Simple columnar epithelium, made up of one row of tall, elongated cells. The nuclei are located near the basement membrane, ciliated or non-ciliated. Non-ciliated cells line the uterus, stomach, and intestines where they protect underlying tissue. They secrete digestive fluids and absorb nutrients. They can be ciliated or non-ciliated. Cells are found in the uterine tubes and help move the egg towards the uterus. Some cells contain tiny microvilli, smaller than cilia, to increase surface area for absorption. Goblet cells are scattered among the cells. They secrete mucus onto the free surface of the tissue for lubrication and protection. Okay. So there's your simple columnar epithelium. Okay, you can have a look at there. And you'll see the ciliated, non-ciliated. There's the lumen there, the uterine tubes. Very nice. Here are some more shots there. This is non-ciliated. Okay, there's your goblet cells. Lumen there of the jejunum. Perfect. Pseudostratified columnar epithelium. That's these ones here that they look like they're on top of each other, but they're not. Every single one of them has a way down to the basement membrane protein. The cells appear layered due to the varying position of their nuclei within the rows of cells, but are not truly layered. These cells vary in shape. All cells reach the basement membrane, but not all reach the free surface. Most have cilia along with their free surface. Goblet cells are scattered among the epithelial cells. They secrete mucus found in the passageway of the respiratory system. In the respiratory tract, the mucus traps dust and microorganisms, and the cilia sweeps them away from the airways. So there's just some more shots there of your pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Okay, there's your cilia. Okay, good stuff. Stratified squamous epithelia, we'll get this into next week's class there when we get introduce our first organ system in the skin integumentary system. The stratified squamous epithelium made up of many layers of flattened cells that are designed to protect underlying layers. This type of epithelium is named for the shape of the outermost layer of cells. These layers are composed of squamous cells. And you'll see there that there's your basement protein, and these cells emanate from here, okay? And as they new cells are being made underneath, so these older cells get pushed up and pushed up. Eventually they all get keratinized, which just means they get hardened, okay, producing a dry, waterproof protective layer in which the outer cells are dead. Keratinization does not occur in areas in which tissue remain moist and alive, okay, like the oral cavity, esophagus, vagina, or anal canal, okay. And just showing you some stratified squamous epithelial right here. We show you there the epidermis and the dermis. We'll get into that there heavier next week. I love all these: stratum corneum, granulosum, spinosum, stratum base cell. We'll hit all those up next week. So here is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Okay. Stratified cuboidal epithelium. Okay, this tissue is found lining a lumen, usually 2 to 3 layers of cuboidal cells, and you'll see where this is going right in here. Lines the ducts of the mammary glands, sweat glands, salivary glands. That's what we're talking about right here. Pancreas, ovarian follicle, seminiferous tubules there of the testes. Okay. Just some shots here of cuboidal epithelium. You'll see them right in there. There's some stratified columnar. Okay, one on top of each other for sure. Okay. Consists of several layers of cells. This type of tissue is rare, found in the male urethra and lining of the large gland ducts. Okay, so that's your stratified columnar epithelium lining the male urethra. Transitional epithelium, these ones here, what I want you to know from these ones here is that they are lining of the bladder. And these guys here can stretch. These are what we call transitional epithelium. And as the bladder begins to fill with urine, these cells here will start to stretch. And eventually they will stretch to a point where then they will send a message to the brain to make you go and try and find a bathroom quick. Okay? Expandable lining and prevents urine from diffusing back into the internal environment. Okay? And nice electron micrograph there of the transitional epithelium. More of it there. Okay, pause the video and have a look. Here's your cross section there of the ureter itself. Okay, mucosa there of the ureter and transitional epithelium of the ureter. So transitional epithelium in the ureter as well as the bladder. Okay, there it is right there. You'll see it. Okay, stretchy cells. Glandular epithelium, made up of cuboidal or columnar cells designed to protect and secrete substances into ducts or to body fluids. Glands that secrete products into ducts that open to a body surface are what we call exocrine glands. Glands that do not have a duct and they release their chemical right into the bloodstream, these are called endocrine glands. Exocrine have a duct, endocrine no duct. Okay. And just a nice little recap here. I like this slide, so should you. The whole idea: simple squamous, simple cuboidal, simple columnar, pseudostratified, stratified squamous, stratified cuboidal, stratified columnar, transitional, and glandular epithelium. Love them all, know them all, they're good to go. When you're looking at glandular epithelium right here, you've got merocrine glands, apocrine glands, and holocrine glands, and you'll see them right here. And it's all, you see that these are exocrine because they have a duct, they have a throughway for the chemical to be secreted. And in different ways there that the chemical can come apart. And you'll see there that chemical can be produced, or it can just fall off, or it can disintegrate. And we'll show you these right there. Merocrine glands are the most common type. They release fluid products by exocytosis. So they produce a watery fluid, serous fluid, sometimes with high enzyme concentration. Mucus, they produce a thicker protective substance. There's the pancreas, salivary, sweat glands there, okay, through exocytosis, okay, releasing it through the membrane. Then you have apocrine glands. This is where a pinched off portion of their cell bodies constitutes their secretion. And in this case here, example, mammary glands, okay? And then you have holocrine glands, where they release entire cells that will disintegrate to release their secretions. And in this case here, sebaceous glands of the hair follicle. Okay? Exocytosis, pinching off, and then we've got the whole cell just gets released and then disintegrates. Okay? Great little shot here, just details you some examples. Okay, salivary glands, mammary glands, sebaceous glands of the skin. I would know that one as well. Moving on into connective tissue. Okay, so we just did epithelial. Now we're moving on into connective tissue. General characteristics. Okay, they bind, support, protect, and serve as a framework, fill spaces, store fat, produce blood cells, protect against infection, and help repair tissue damage. Okay? Unlike epithelial tissue, connective tissue cells are far apart from each other. Connective tissues have an abundance of extracellular matrix or intracellular material composed of protein fibers and ground substances. Consistency varies from liquid to rigid depending upon the ground substance. Most connective tissue can divide. Most have a good blood supply, except for cartilage. Yes, if you ever rip your cartilage on your knees, cartilage takes a long time to repair because it's not very vascular. And you'll see here the extracellular matrix of connective tissue. You'll see you're talking protein, fibrin, all these right there. Okay, connective tissue connecting and holding the tissue together. Fibroblasts, most common fixed cell type, a large star-shaped cell that secretes fibers. Wandering macrophage, histocyte, functions as a phagocyte, defends against infection and foreign particles. And you'll see there right here. Okay, this is a phagocyte, a macrophage digesting a bacteria. And then we have a mast cell. Large fixed cell located near blood vessels, releases heparin, an anticoagulant, and histamine, promotes inflammation. Mast cells, allergies. So those fibroblasts there, they produce the three types of fibers found in connective tissue. There's collagen white fibers, there's elastic yellow fibers, and there's also reticular fibers, thin collagen fibers that form branching supportive networks in a variety of tissues. Elastic yellow, okay, made of protein elastin, occurs in thin branching fibers arranged in a network, very stretchy. Vocal cords is a great example. And then we have collagen white fibers here. Example, tendons and ligaments. Okay? There's your reticular connecting tissue and components of connecting tissue. Okay? Cellular, there's your fibroblasts, macrophages, mast cells, extracellular, collagen, elastic, reticular, and ground substances there. Categories of connective tissue. Okay, you've got connective tissue proper, loose connective tissue, and dense connective tissue. Then you have specialized connective tissue, cartilage, bone, blood. Loose connective tissue, there's areolar tissue and adipose tissue. Adipose tissue you'll be familiar with. This is where the fat is stored. Found under the skin, between muscles, around the kidneys, around the abdominal membranes, behind the eyeballs, cushions joints and organs, stores energy, insulates the body. Areolar tissue forms thin, delicate membranes Main cell type is the fibroblast. Matrix consists of a gel-like ground substance with collagen reticular fibers. Examples: binds the skin to the underlying tissue under most epithelial layers between muscles. Okay. Reticular connective tissue contains thin reticulating fibers which form a three-dimensional network and forms a framework for certain internal organs, the liver and the spleen. There's your areolar connective tissue, okay, very thin fibers. There's your adipose tissue, which is more recognizable, okay. Dense connective tissue consists of densely packed collagen fibers and a network of elastic fibers. Does not have many cells, but most are fibroblasts. Fibers are very strong, so the tissue can withstand pulling force, has a poor blood supply, so heals very slowly. It is found in tendons, ligaments, and the white layer of eyeballs. Okay. There's your dense connective tissue. Cartilage is a rigid connective tissue, provides a supportive framework for various structures, protects underlying tissues, makes models for developing bones. It lacks a vascular system and heals slowly. Abundant matrix with collagen fibers and a gel-like ground substance. Chondrocytes, cartilage cells, lie within the lacunae, chambers of the matrix. Cartilaginous structures are enclosed within a connective tissue covering called the perichondrium. Neither the cartilage nor the perichondrium have a good blood supply, but the cartilage cells get some nutrients from the perichondrium. However, cartilage is slow to heal. The three types of cartilage differ by their matrix. You have hyaline cartilage, which is the most common type. Okay. Here we're talking embryonic development and many bone structures. Okay. Elastic cartilage contains elastic fibers, provides a framework for the external ear and parts of the larynx. Fibrocartilage, though, tough tissue containing many collagen fibers, good shock absorber, intravertebral disc, knee, pelvic girdle. There's your fibrocartilage. Okay. There's your hyaline cartilage. Okay. Here you're talking bone development. And you'll see what's going on there. Okay, for the cartilage there of the ribs. Here's your hyaline again. Okay. Elastic cartilage here of the ear. Okay. And fibrocartilage there of the intravertebral discs. All right. Very different purposes. Bone. Okay, this is the most rigid of the connective tissue due to the presence of mineralized salts, calcium. Bones support and protect many body structures in the cranium and thoracic cavities, form sites for muscle attachment, site for blood cell formation, stores and releases chemicals such as calcium and phosphorus. Two types of bone tissue, compact and spongy. In compact bone, these cells are called osteocytes, and they lie within the lacunae and are arranged in concentric circles called lamellae, almost like tree rings, all around a central or Haversian canal, which we call an osteon. Central canals contain blood vessels and distribute blood in the cells throughout tiny tubes called caniculae. Bones have a good blood supply and are alive. You'll see there. Okay, and you'll see these, this is what we call a Haversian canal, okay, central canal, and that's where the blood vessels are, the nerve, all these different things, the bone grows around it, okay. There's your compact bone. Spongy bone, which is not compact, all right. Think of the inner marrow there. We call this their trabeculae. It's very, very spongy, the inside marrow of the bone. So, blood functions to transport substances through the body. Okay, so it's transporting these substances, nutrients, gas, and waste products there. So blood is composed of formed elements suspended in a liquid matrix called plasma. The formed elements include red blood cells to carry oxygen, white blood cells for protecting against infection, and platelets for blood clotting. Most blood cells are produced by the red bone marrow within certain long bones. And you'll see there's your erythrocytes, platelets, neutrophils, there's your white blood cells. There's lots more going on in blood than just blood. Nice little summary here of all the different kinds of connective tissue. I know those. Absolutely, especially your three different kinds of cartilage: hyaline, elastic, and fibro. Types of membranes in the body: three types of epithelial membranes and one type of connective tissue membrane. Epithelial membranes are thin sheet-like structures composed of epithelium and connective tissue. Okay, there is serous membranes, mucous membranes, and cutaneous membranes. There is also synovial membranes. It lines joints and is composed entirely of connective tissue. Serous membranes, they line cavities that do not open to the outside. Thoracic and abdominal cavities consist of simple squamous epithelium and a layer of areolar connective tissue. Example, pleura. These surround the lungs. Pericardium, peritoneum. These are all encapsulating and creating spaces. Okay, these are the membranes involved. Double layered membrane, you have the parietal portion lines the cavity wall. You have the visceral portion covers the organ itself. Okay, we will come back to these at another time, I promise, when we get into lungs and digestive system. There is a small amount of lubricating serous fluid between the two layers, especially with the lungs. That would be called surfactant. We'll get there when we get into respiration. Mucous membranes line cavities and tubes that open to the outside of the body, including the oral and nasal cavities and tubular organs of the digestive, respiratory, urinary, and reproductive system. Mucus is the first line of defense. Okay? Consists of some type of epithelium and a layer of areolar connective tissue. Contain goblet cells that produce mucus. Cutaneous membranes. Here we're talking the skin. A dry membrane that is keratinized for protection and waterproofing. Muscle. Here we've got the three kinds of muscle. You have skeletal, which is voluntary, very strong, okay, and short-lived. You have smooth muscle, which is involuntary, not strong, very long-lived, and cardiac muscle, which is a combination of these two. It is involuntary, very strong, and long-lived. Okay. Moving on there's the three kinds of muscle tissue. Okay. And when you're talking skeletal muscle here, all right, you'll when you get into Bio 1022, we'll hit this a lot harder, but the whole idea here is that this is voluntary, very strong, very short-lived. Okay, and that is your skeletal muscle. Okay, smooth muscle looks very, very different. Okay, it does not look at all like skeletal muscle. It is involuntary. It is not strong. It's just moving food from one side of the esophagus to another, right? You're just, through peristalsis. So it doesn't have to be strong, but it is very long-lived. Okay. Okay. And then you have cardiac muscle, which is a combination of the two. You'll see this branching, these intercalated discs, okay, where one cardiac muscle is joined to them all. And you think about it, the heart has a pacemaker, right? All of those muscles all the cardiac muscle has to be connected to each other so that that electrical impulse, the pacemaker, can conduct the heart rhythmically. Okay, so the cardiac muscle, involuntary, very strong, and long-lived. Okay, nervous tissue, we're on to the end now. Okay, this is the most easy to identify. Here we're talking neurons or nerve cells respond to a certain type of environmental stimuli or changes by conducting electrical impulses to other neurons, muscles, or glands. Neurons have unique cellular properties, extensions called dendrites and axons, coordinate and regulate body function. Neuroglia are cells that support, nourish, and communicate with neurons but do not conduct impulses. So you see, this is a typical nerve cell here. Here's your dendrites here. This is your cell body. Okay, there would be another neuron up here. Okay, that the message would come down and it would jump here, and then this message would come down this axon here and jump to another neuron there. You'll see there that these are what we call Schwann cells. This is fat myelated sheaths here, and that actually increase the speed of the impulse traveling down the axon. The message just doesn't fly down, the message jumps. And you'll see these little nodes of Ranvier here. Okay, that's where this thing jumps onto. Okay, so things to note: cell body, dendrites, there's your axon, axon terminal, axon bulb, axon knobs. Okay, I've seen 3 different names. These are Schwann cells, and these are the nodes of Ranvier. Okay, there's just some nice shots there of nervous tissue. Okay, very easy to identify. Okay, there's your dendrites there, your cell body, and then there's your axon with your terminal bulbs at the end. Muscle and nervous tissue, just some functions and locations. I would know this one here. There's your 3 kinds of muscle and nervous tissue there. Okay, and then we're just into questions here. So please feel free to try as many of these questions as you can. Go back and have a look at them. If there's any issues, let me know. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and I look forward there to our week, our last PowerPoint coming up there for week 13. But beware, there's another one there, anatomical positions, that's coming your way. We'll see you soon. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.